The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Afternoon. Good afternoon, guys. So, as all of you know, that we're on the Biotechnology channel, and our topic is cloning. So, I'll just give a very basic understanding of cloning for those of you who don't have an idea of cloning, even though you should have just looked it up anyways. But, okay, well, Dolly the sheep, for example, Rick was mentioning the first thing that came, in his mind when we said cloning. So in terms of Dolly the sheep, I'm just gonna, briefly explain what that means and what is Dolly the sheep. So Dolly the sheep was pretty much the first clone that was invented. So you get two sorts of, this is the basic science of what actually happens. So you get a nuclear donor, which is, the cell, the somatic cell of an organism, which was the sheep A, and then you get that out of the nucleus, and you have another, of the same species, a female egg donor, which is used, and then the nucleus from the egg donor is, I can probably, make a flowchart. I think I can explain it better. Should I, Rick? Yeah?
Do it.
Okay, because it's hard to just explain it. Alright, so pretty much, I need a thing somewhere. Thank you. So that's sheep A, and that's sheep B, and that's the female species of the sheep, and we get the egg cell. So this is the egg cell. And there's a nucleus in both of them, and this is the somatic cell, which is, with the both set of chromosomes, a normal body cell, which is not a reproductive cell, right? So from the nucleus, this is the nucleus donor. This is the nucleus is removed from this. So we're going to end up with the identical copy, as in the genetic material of this cell. So that's the aim. We use the egg cell of the same species, as I said, to use the cytoplasm of that. So what happens is we remove the egg nucleus here, and then this is enucleated. So the egg is removed from here, and then we end up with just the cytoplasm. So what happens is we fuse it together. So now we're going to end up with the cytoplasm of the female species of the cell, of the egg cell, and then the nucleus of this species, and then it's grown to the blastocyst stage, and then it's transplanted into a surrogate mother. So this is when the third party comes in. So this is when the third party comes in. So this is where the actual thing is grown. So that's like the basic concept of what happens in this SCNT, which is the somatic cell nuclear transfer. So now everybody's gonna just give their point of views. First of all, what is SCNT used for? It can be, for a number of things. For example, for therapeutic plus reproductive cloning as well. So in terms of therapeutic cloning, we can use it for medicines, and for tissue engineering and all different sorts of purposes. And now some people, think it's ethical to, I personally believe to an extent, there is no problem with cloning, to an extent of course, and I will present my views soon, but we'll start with Katie and she'll start with her point of view.
Yeah, no, sure. After kind of looking into cloning, I'm kind of for and against in various circumstances. As Sonia mentioned before, there's reproductive or therapeutic cloning when it comes to humans. So, from my understanding, reproductive cloning is the cloning of an actual whole human being, so their whole genetic makeup, is that right? As opposed to therapeutic cloning, which is whereby they're able to clone organs, and develop organs. Yeah. So in that respect, I feel that the therapeutic side of cloning, in ethical terms, sits better with me because I would like to think that if one of my close family friends or a family member or myself developed a disease, a degenerative disease with no cure at the moment, that, you know, it would be kind of beneficial for the whole cloning of an existing organ to occur. I think, you know, obviously at the moment we have access to all these advanced medicines and all these scientific developments, which ensures that our lives are prolonged, so why not be able to generate a whole new organ for someone that really needs it, rather than them having to wait on a waiting list for a donor. I think in those sort of terms, that cloning to me is kind of acceptable and is kind of right in that way. It should be made available to people. I kind of also looked into the religious side of things. Like, I'm not particularly a religious person, but readings suggest that people think that cloning is messing with you know, God's will and all the rest of that kind of thing. And yes, from a Christian standpoint, I can see why people think that, you know, cloning goes against that whole side of religious expectation, because they believe that God is the creator, and, you know, you're messing with that side of things. But I also looked into the Buddhist kind of aspect of religion, and I think it's also shared with Hinduism, where they believe in reincarnation. So cloning in that respect is acceptable to them, which was quite interesting because they have many gods. So there's not just one power, and you're not kind of seen as disrupting that side of things, if that makes sense. As opposed to the whole side of human cloning, I looked into genetic modification of plants. Living in a world of scarcity, we're faced with food scarcity, land scarcity. You know, it's only developing, it's only burgeoning because of our growing population. So being able to genetically modify crops to produce the perfect kind of food produce, which would result in less wastage and more efficient means of food production, I feel that that's most beneficial to us as well. I think that's ethically right in being able to grow our own produce that's perfect and sustaining our population.
Okay, so just to sum up until this point, so basically cloning, you can clone humans, plants, animals, and so on by taking the two cells, reproducing them, and putting them into another person or animal or plant, which would be the actual carrier or host, and then there develops a new live thing or person or animal. So does anyone have any questions so far in regards to cloning and what it is? No? Okay, so I actually think that it's oh sure, yep.
Just need a correction on that we don't clone humans and we
That's
haven't
not
thought
how
human cloning part, but we just clone the organs of
Sure,
humans.
I think you make a good point, but actually my research, I found that in vitro is actually a cloning method.
Yeah, but that is reproductive cloning, where you don't clone the entire organism by taking another cell, but it's about giving, like a family planning where parents cannot conceive and start a family. So that comes into in vitro, as you said, that you're giving life to another organism, but it's not through cloning.
In my research, it did come under cloning. It is still part. It's a type of cloning. So I still
agree
think
to
it's
that
unethical.
I agree that it is a type of cloning,
Okay.
but it's not the way the
She
action
described
step
it,
goes.
It's
through.
not
That's
producing
just an
those
example.
humans.
That's just an example.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
it?
but the cloning, I agree with what Shruti's saying, because the whole science behind cloning is actually making a new organism, and I know what you said when you said in vitro. but
Yeah,
in
which has
vitro is
come
different.
from that though. Like all
So
this.
how is in vitro fertilization done? Do you know?
Yeah, so they actually take a human egg and they fertilize it with human sperm, and then it's cloned, and then it's put into a host. Doesn't matter if it's from your egg or someone else's sperm, it could be a completely different person, and then you actually carry.
So they make
So-
one egg and they clone that egg. Like one
They-
gamete and they clone that.
Yeah.
So
Or they
because
actually,
I believe that increases your chances of getting pregnant, doesn't it? If they increase the number of those.
More
Yeah,
eggs.
yeah, but it is maybe it's
Still,
not
yeah.
dog and sheep
Yeah,
cloning,
but-
but it still forms under the umbrella of cloning, and I still think that's unethical. For example, if one of your loved ones dies, you can do that process, and then you can replicate the same person, and I think that's unethical, and that freaks me out.
I'd just like to point out one thing that Simon didn't mention with that.
The cell harvesting.
No, the cytoplasmic DNA.
Oh yes.
So you wouldn't
Yes.
get an identical.
You wouldn't get the identical genetically it would be identical, but some progeny because the egg cell is from the female, so the if there's any mitochondrial based defects in the egg cell, that will be also present in the newly produced dog, either sheep or whatever organism it is. So yeah, I didn't mention that, but I thought that was the science behind it, so I didn't really bother.
Well, you could argue that as an ethical point. You're not exactly
Identical. Yeah, that's true. That's what we were discussing as well. That whenever the organism is being cloned, it's the fingerprints, because the genetic makeup is going to be the same, but fingerprints, the patterns in the eyes, and what other
I
thing
think
we
the way
discussed
thinking
would
also
be the
different,
same.
right?
Sorry.
The way the person thinking also different.
Yeah, so their personality
So it's not-
will be
Personality,
very
yeah, I
individual.
think
Yeah, so
because personality.
It's not going to be cloning. I mean,
Yeah, but we mean
cloning-
genetically.
Yeah,
it's
genetically.
similar. We don't. Yeah, personality is environment and the sort of people you're in and the language you speak and whatever. That can be different.
I think you had a good point when it
Yeah,
comes
so
to.
I'll do it now. So I think I want to do something a bit different because everyone looks like they're going to sleep anyway. So I think you should all close your eyes. Actually, close your eyes. Seriously, everyone. Close your eyes. Think about when you left home this morning. You looked at your fridge. There was a big piece of meat. There was all of those veggies, all of those green vegetable there. There was milk in the fridge. So this morning, what do you have for breakfast? Marina, what did you have? You had nothing for breakfast.
I didn't either.
That's why you're all grumpy now. Yeah, so my whole point here is all we have now is not going to be able, it's limited resources that we have at the moment. So the world population by 2050 is going to increase to around 9 million. So you're going to have 2 million people extra by 2050. So do you guys think that we're going to be able to source and have the same kind of living than everyone else at the moment? So you're gonna have same amount of milk for everyone, same amount of meat for everyone. What do you guys think? We're gonna be able to survive? Imagine you have 9 million people. There's old people too, I know, yeah, but what are you gonna do?
Well,
What do we do?
We're already benefiting from certain types of cloning with plants or whatever, and even the clothes and that,
I know.
we wear, the cotton and everything else. So we're already benefiting from that.
Yeah, but my research said that we need, so in order to be able to be sustainable, we're gonna need 5 planets, 5 planet Earth, to be able to sustain 9 million people.
Is that natural?
Yeah. So all your
Sustainability?
natural sustainability.
So
So
we're
all your
talking about
resources.
unnatural sustainability.
No, I'm talking about like natural resources, water, all the stuff that you're gonna need, you know. So looked at a few things again. When I looked at so how many people at the moment are not eating? Like anyone knows? How many people in the world don't actually have food? When Christina was bringing bread in the thing before, I told you.
Oh, I got so antsy.
So there's around 800 million people in the world that do not have enough food to be like healthy. Like I'm saying healthy. You want everyone in, like at the moment you have already 800 million. What happens by 2050? What do you guys do if there's no food? What if we don't do any cloning anymore? There's no more meat. There's no more milk. What do you guys do?
That 800 million wouldn't all be due to lack of available food and water.
Okay, I agree with that. But what, so are they going to increase? Is that going to keep increasing or is that going to decrease? In your mind, what's going to happen? I don't know if you're going to be here or I'm going to be here.
It'll generally increase, I'd imagine, but the figure I would doubt would be 800 million anyway.
Like at the moment, it's 800 million, so it's going to be, I assume that it's going to increase by the time we're like 2050. We're going to have 2 billion people more in the world. What do you think? Do you agree with me or not? Do you agree or not? What do you think? It's already
No,
like,
that's not going to happen.
I just think there's different reasons for the people not having availability of food, and some of it's political. So
yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying
you know,
otherwise. But what I'm trying to say,
generally it'll increase.
my whole point here is about cloning. All I'm trying to say is cloning good or not? At the end of the day, it's trying to help you to get more meat. We're gonna make more food. Imagine you're gonna have steak. You're gonna be able to like have the best steak in the lab. So you don't have to go again. So we're gonna breed this one grass-fed down the road. Why would you spend so much time and wait for it?
Yeah, but it's a
When
bit
you-
widespread to be saying cloning's good when you're just talking about plant.
So that is plant, like cloning in terms of like plant tissues. You can do cloning in terms of, there's so many other different kinds of cloning as I spoke before. So that's why I was trying to like combine them all
I
together.
think he's saying in respect to food production.
So food
Yeah.
Cloning
production,
can be validated. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously at the moment,
it's a
we've got
simpler argument, isn't it?
genetically
yeah, it's simple. I'm
modified
just trying
food
to make it.
at the
Yeah.
moment, but I guess it's not as widespread and it's not as widely accepted in today's society, but there's potential for that attitude to
The whole-
shift.
Well, it's been
Oh,
happening for years.
In that,
Yeah, I
yeah,
understand.
in that
The whole
respect.
question, do you think, like in your mind, do you believe that there is a need for cloning? That was my whole question.
And what, sorry?
Is there a need for cloning?
Is there any?
Well, certain types of cloning, yes.
Yes, not all of it.
It
Not like
depends.
That's
on
where
what
we
cloning.
go, like that's where it comes to the ethical issues again.
I mean, the
Like,
Germans
what do you
want
believe?
cloning, that's what
It's like there should be no abuse of this technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this makes more
There
sense,
are,
you
there
know?
are limits,
Yeah.
you know.
Because I know there's people that say cloning is bad or like it's completely unethical.
I think it really depends on what
Like,
you know
What
what,
the
cloning
subject
needs.
is,
For
yeah.
for example, genetically modified crops and things. I don't think there's a problem with it. I don't see a problem with it at all. I don't see a problem in terms of human cloning up to the extent where we are making. This is my personal opinion, you know, up to the point where we're making tissues and organs even. But cloning a
But-
human and then that's where the feelings and consensus and these things come in, you know.
but I think when it comes to human cloning, then there's a legal issue behind this too. So
Yeah, it's not.
if you clone
ethical.
someone to your image, who owns that image? So
Not even
what do you,
that.
did you guys actually think about this?
Yeah,
Imagine you have someone exactly like you is next to you. So do you own him or does he own you?
Yeah,
Who
take-
was first? Where does it all start?
Why are you on?
Well, because it's your DNA, yeah. So you would own you.
And now it's his.
So are you gonna have the mini me
No,
next to you? He's gonna be running around.
So if I donate my egg, for example, and then, you know, and then someone else that can't have a baby takes that egg and implants it, and my egg
that's gonna be happening.
then some to my, you know, someone else gives birth to that baby, whose eggs or egg I've donated, whose is it? That's just what
Yeah.
pretty much what I was asking, you know, like.
But then when it goes
Is
to
it?
like, but then
You know?
there's another
So all
ethical
those
issue
legal issues
where it comes to like,
contemplates.
there's a high failure rate in that. Like the leadership, how many?
200.
Yeah, so from 200 embryons, only like one. So you don't like, it is gonna get better over the years, but
Yeah.
you don't know if it's gonna get better. Or what happens if you actually get 200 of them?
You
What-
just said it is going to get better. You don't know if it's going to get better.
So it is gonna get better eventually.
But
Technology.
you don't know it's going to get better.
Technologically, it's gonna get better. What do you think?
Well, what's the
Oh.
point?
Do you not
of
think it's gonna
this
get better?
No, see, you can't ask me a question and then answer it for me. It probably will get better.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
But then it's the whole ethics behind that. That's where I draw the line at human, like a full-on reproductive cloning of a human, because like Ivan says, legal implications come into that. Who then owns that clone? Is that clone a human in its own right? Because yes, it will have its own personality. It's at the end of the day, it's a human being. But then it's being derived from someone else's
Question?
replica of their DNA.
I just wanted to add to that it's going to be better because take an example in this class where half of the people don't know what is cloning. So once half of the
I
class,
still don't know.
so it's the lack of knowledge that the people have about cloning, and they don't know how it's used. So once they have a clear picture of how it is done and what are the procedures involved and how ethical it is, I think most of the people will agree to cloning later on.
They needed to be educated.
It depends on what type of cloning.
Yeah,
This whole
exactly.
thing, it depends on like, I don't think human cloning will ever be like,
Yeah, well,
I
that's
don't
not
think it will
right.
be agreed, but you can have a mini me
And
next to
when,
you.
yeah, when people
Like, no,
say,
I don't see this happening in the next 50 years either.
yeah,
So,
no,
I don't know what you guys
when
think, but
when you guys talk about having a mini me or a clone, why would you just make a clone out of nowhere anyways? The purpose is if you want to, use it for therapeutic purposes or organs or like in medicinal purposes, right?
So like
But-
the island.
Yeah, but why? What's the point of making a clone anyways when you can just generate tissues and they'll be ethical tissues or organs that you can implant into
Why
the
is it
bodies of
ethical?
others? Because
It's saving
that's
someone
not a
else's
life.
oh,
Because if you're making a clone, we made an Ivan clone, and then Ivan gets sick, and then we kill that person, pretty much, to get the tissues out or to get the organs out so we can place it in you.
you're starting
That's
to
not
say that?
ethical. That's
Huh?
it.
Yeah.
That's
What
murder.
are you thinking?
Oh, I
Just
just think
say it.
about the whole topic. Like, your panel is about biotechnology, so it's a lot
We
of.
decided cloning.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
like, if you guys start with cloning, maybe you guys should tell us first because I have no idea which.
She did
No,
say
no,
it.
no,
That's the whole point
before
she
this
explained
today.
before.
That's what
Before
someone
today. Because around
You were meant to
biotechnology, we
do
have a
research.
GMO, we have bio, fuel, many things.
I can explain cloning again, but
I know that, but
Yeah.
it's still confused.
Yeah, I know. It's not a constant
Maybe
concept you
before
get like
today.
that. That's why you.
I mean,
If you guys focus on the clothing,
Yeah, we did let everyone know last week that this was going to be our topic for today. Yeah.
There's
No,
so
I-
many different aspects of
clone.
cloning. It's a big umbrella.
And I think you're
and
focusing on the wrong thing as well.
it's more the ethics behind
Yeah,
different
the
types of
ethics
cloning.
being
You don't
behind
really need to
cloning.
know exactly how it's
What
done.
cloning
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they need to know what cloning is so,
So-
they can
Yeah.
understand the ethics or have their point of view or what. I think that's what he's saying. He doesn't understand what cloning
Cloning
is.
is.
That's why he doesn't know whether I should agree with it, whether I should not agree with it. But that's fine. You didn't do your research, Tony.
Well, he's already benefiting from it today
Yeah.
anyway, so.
You'd probably go home and research about it now.
And in terms of
Yeah, question.
I have a question about related to ethical term. Like, is it ethical for us to use GMO technique or cloning technique to create more food for poor people in the developing country? Because as you know,
That's a whole
in those countries they have a lot of people, like they have massive population. So is it ethical or not? Because we don't know that those techniques can cause like allergic reaction to in human.
Yeah, I actually wanted to make a point on that before as well. I think that's my opinion as well. If, for example, I read about, it was in one of our things last time that human, or basically if it's done in a controlled manner, for example, I think my biotechnology people, the human factor gene was introduced in the cow to produce insulin, and if that
insulin in the cow's milk.
In the cow's milk, and if you have about 14 of those cows, and that's enough insulin for the whole year for worldwide. So those cows, when you say there can be, you know, limitations to that, as in the pros and cons of having that gene in there. So if you have it in a controlled place, you know, so you're not just letting it mate anywhere.
Looking back at Dolly's thing, because he died after 6 years, right?
Yes.
We don't know what happened, why he died.
Because
maybe fish in people.
It had arthritis.
It
was born with arthritis.
So again, there is a risk.
There's a risk.
Uncertainty, really.
And usually the clones have lesser age. They don't have that big age. But then you can just make another clone.
Eat it.
I guess with all medical research and new technology that comes about from the medical research, you know, you always have the different, like, amazing things that come about it, and it's usually with good intentions that's you know, that's created. But then of course you always have other things that come about that are really negative aspects of each type of you know, medical research, so it can be taken and then,
for example,
lots of bad things can happen.
Going back to the cow example, the cow, insulin producing cow, I mean, I understand for animal rights people, they probably like don't want to hurt the cows and things, but you've got to make some, that's what I think, some sort of sacrifice. And then, you know, if you're sacrificing all these cows and finally you ended up with a cow that's producing insulin and you've produced 14 others, you're treating the world's dwarfism, for example, you know, because you've got enough insulin and you've got enough things. So you're helping, you know, you're sacrificing a little, I get that, but then you're helping the whole world treat their diseases that can be, you know.
Some people can't get their head over sacrificing the little guy. Some people just can't get over that.
But they have to think in a big picture.
Yeah,
they can't just
a lot of people don't.
Well, they also have to control.
That's like going back to Katie's example. Like if I have a loved one, you know, I would be like, For example, if producing an identical clone was the only way, I would want my loved one to have a tissue engineered or transplanted or whatever. But if that starts to happen as a whole, you know, I don't know how far we can take this, like, you know, and then we were discussing population issues. If it's gonna, like, we want people not to die, but then people are gonna be, like, you know, the evolutionary, the whole
I guess this is
cycle.
I guess like the fact that they're able to grow organs and tissues which can then be transplanted into people that need it, and they then can grow these organs to research and look into cures for, you know, diseases like Parkinson's disease and, you know, all these incurable diseases at the moment. I feel that the ability to do that, like, why not? Like, if it's going to benefit so many more people in the future, it's just more of a scientific advancement. I mean, think back to the kind of science and the medicine that we had 100 years ago and compare that to what we have now. I'm sure that people would have, you know, totally freaked out about how we've gotten to this stage. So, like in that respect, being able to create these organs and tissues and, you know,
it's just very beneficial for the whole human race.
I think that I agree with the whole human clone. I can't.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I don't know where I kind of stand on this one, but I was like listening to a documentary the other day, and it was about the concept of like how much humans have begun to interfere with human life. Like, so, you know, are we meant to be doing all of this, or is it meant to be that we've made ourselves live so much longer, and we've made ourselves need so many more resources, and like we've made the world become so much more populated. So like we're kind of doing all these things that then require us to do so much more to follow up and look after
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
That makes
So
sense.
like maybe there's the ethical issue of like we're not meant to keep fixing people that are sick or
Exactly.
But
you
then-
know.
Disturbing the evolution,
Yeah.
how it's going,
But then
the
what if you
cycle
were
of
sick? What if
evolution.
you needed life-changing surgery or life-saving surgery or
Who would save
I don't know,
yourself
what
from
if
all this?
you developed, like, I'm not saying I hope it doesn't happen, if I did, like, if I developed some sort of illness or disease, I wouldn't refuse treatment.
No, I mean I think that's the society we're in now though.
Yeah.
But like I think we're all gonna die at some point.
So you
But
can
everybody
do it-
wants to live as
Of
much
course.
as they can.
I agree in the beneficial use of genetic, engineering for a better quality of life. But if you
Yeah.
have a life-threatening condition,
Yeah.
I don't think because that really does upset the balance of nature. Eventually, when it happens and they cure cancer, that's one of the biggest killers that we have today. That's when this population's going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
And you're going to see a drastic decrease on the opposite scale of resources, natural or
And then you're
otherwise.
gonna have more old people. Everyone
That
dies.
too.
But I mean, I guess, like, society's gonna have to shift the way in which they produce.
There's an interesting book, I don't know if anyone likes Dan Brown here, but he wrote a book called Inferno recently, which actually discusses the population crisis, and someone's made up in the book, their solution to it was to release an agent into the world that would sterilize half the population. That was his plan. So
Is that ethical or not?
I looked at him because I can see the ethical and unethical sides of it. Because you're not killing anyone, but you are preventing a population, increasing. So you basically just denied human rights to half the population of the world.
How was that going to happen, sorry?
It was in the book.
Yeah, but how was it meant to? How was
It was no, there was key population points around the world that they released. It was like a virus or something,
So what would-
genetically manipulated
So
to
where would-
attack.
Where would
Maybe
you
touch on ethical, maybe?
So would
Yeah.
you go to like poor countries to do that? Like you'd go to like Africa and
Probably
say,
every-
try to like clean it up. Is that what
In
you're
the
trying to
story,
say?
in the story, he released it over in every key
Right,
nation
kids.
throughout the world. There was no
Where there's
no
no-
one safe from it.
Well, I think if they did about places where there was like very high property levels, would make sense.
Okay.
Well, if you keep having, well, it might make sense. What? Well, I don't understand why not.
I don't think it makes
Because
sense.
No, just because someone's poor, you're saying that their
Well,
life isn't as valued as someone that has money and can support themselves.
I-
That's what you're saying.
Like, we
not
don't have
right.
money to like
I know, no,
to
no.
support themselves.
I'm sorry.
So they would rather just
If they don't have
No,
money
but
to
he's
support
not gonna
themselves.
kill them. He's just gonna stop them from having.
Yeah, he's-
being able to
Yeah, then why would you have
But
more
that's
kids
a
if you don't
basic
have food
human
to like
right.
for yourself?
Then you should
So you
just
don't have
educate
enough food for you. What would you have?
Who would make that decision?
I-
though?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can would if you
I would,
Well, luckily
I would try to help the world, yeah.
Right.
Well, in my head, I'm helping people.
Back to the topic.
Maybe we should go back to cloning.
Alright, so in terms of human cloning, there are like 3 different things I came up with. It's like there's a health risk from the mutation of the genes when we do the cloning thing. So, for example, if a baby with a genetic mutation gets a gene cloned of a 30-year-old person, it can be a genetic mutation and it can cause the death of a baby due to the mutation. So there is a health risk because of the cloning. The next thing is the emotional risk due to cloning. It's because as a child grows up knowing that her mother is her sister, or a grandmother is a mother, or a father is a brother-in-law, there is other emotional risk while growing up the child. And the third one is the rise of abuse of this technology. What if this cloning comes in 1940s? What if Hitler have used this cloning?
Yeah, no, with great
Yeah.
power comes
So
great responsibility.
so
it's
all
up to
these
the
3
human
facts
race.
is cloning ethical.
I felt the same way with the last thing. Actually, the question when I was thinking about the whole thing, the question I came up with was cloning. To some extent, I agree is fine. I don't think there's a problem with it. But I think the real ethical question comes is that humans using this technology, how they need to decide to what extent it's ethical for them to use this technology and for what purpose. And I think that's where if that question makes sense.
Like restrictions have to be made.
Exactly. I think they need to think, the humans need to think ethically because they have the hold of the power to what extent they can take this technology.
But then they're going to ask you what's ethical and what's not ethical.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like what I said yesterday. I don't know. It's very basic. It just came in my head that a gun, for example. A terrorist can use it to kill. Police can use it to defend. So it's really, now we have a cloning. Well, that's where the bad guys come in and they use it.
We can't even get world leaders, sports leaders, to run a World Cup campaign properly. How can we ask people to manage this?
I think it's very hard.
That's why human cloning should be just a no-no and forget it. End of story. But tissue cloning, tissue engineering, and because that's fine. Organ engineering.
Therapeutic cloning is allowed in some parts of Australia and in the UK and parts of the States. So that's already been accepted at the moment.
Accepted in small babies who have genetic mutation, just
yeah,
a normal
they
minor
haven't got
mutation.
into it, but yeah, so not full on totally reproducing a human being.
Yeah.
But it's already on this particular small scale, but it's already been accepted as a practice which is valid in developed Western
that's what
societies.
We are. Where are we using the cloning? That's what we decide. As
It's
humans,
actually
we need to make a
for
decision.
human cloning.
Correct. But I mean, obviously, as I said before, where I lie on this is that I totally disagree with that. But I found that it's super beneficial. The therapeutic side of things is beneficial for wider society. Why not?
And then going back to your question, the trust issue, I guess it's being, it's practiced out by medical professionals, so you have to have some faith.
But it's also driven by biotech companies that obviously got huge profits in mind, so they're going to influence it, and the positives will always come from them. There's billions of dollars, so where there's money, there's greed, there's corruption.
That's true.
So on.
Let's just hope it doesn't go wrong.
You can't just hope, can you?
Yeah,
I think the whole point is like, how about the cloning, the regulations for this cloning. So, for some people, they think that this technology is nothing that's training a God, like you say, and others regarding for the merely scientific and the medical progressive. So, I would say that nowadays the whole human population is increasing. So we might don't have enough. Yeah, we might don't have enough for the future. So I think one point is the regulation, because maybe you can just regulate for the development this research only for the plant or on some of the cow resource, but not into the human.
So I think at the end of the day, everything comes back to regulation again in a country. Like everything comes back to regulation. If you're gonna have a new car that's gonna drive by itself, you don't need anyone in there. It needs to be regulated again. Who's gonna control it and how it's gonna go? So it comes back to the same thing again. If it's regulated properly, which I think is gonna be hard to regulate, but there's gonna have to be some kind of standards again. So there's no so people don't abuse the use of biotech and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess if the stakes are too high, then perhaps it's not going to pass legal requirements, or is that what you mean?
What do you mean?
I don't.
No, I mean they need to have standards.
It won't go through.
Why not? I don't understand why.
I think with any kind of development, legislation has to be created to respond to this new environment that we live in. So obviously with these new developments in science and legislation has to respond to that. So it's building this regulatory framework around these new developments, which would is necessary.
It is necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in regards to that, humans wants to survive, needs more food and whatever. This one is not a 100% secure process because right now any process is 100% secure. Yeah. So many cows is gonna burn like with malformations. Yeah. So what's going to happen with those that is not gonna be allowed to the humans? So we are gonna become like killers, because you know what I mean? Because many cows, this process, the clone process, is not 100% secure. So many cows are gonna born with malformation. It's normal. What's gonna happen with those cows which are coming to this world with malformations that the humans cannot eat? So what we are gonna do with those cows? We are gonna kill all those cows that we cannot eat, or what? That is.
You mean the insulin-producing cows?
Exactly. Yeah. Because.
Yeah, they're being used for the insulin. Do you know what I mean? And I guess they do their job, and then we feed them.
We are gonna be
those mutations, and if the cow has some mutations or malformations, what are you going to do with those cows?
So in regulations again. So what
because we have to kill all those cows, so we are going to become
when
killers.
It comes to terms like animal rights, I'm not 100% swayed either way, but I think what I was looking into was genetically modified crops. So, like we waste so much food now. So much food is grown and not everything passes these quality standards, so we throw a lot of it away, which is just waste. If we can produce quality crops that 100% of it can be sold on and used as food, like how, in my mind, that's not a bad thing. Like we're
not going to be 100% sure? Yeah. Okay. But
I mean, yeah, like obviously,
not be 100% sure. Yeah.
True.
I'm more in this
if
one
we
when
can
you're
develop
but it's better trying than having no food. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, but
if we can improve the yield of that.
Even if you have a little bit of that, it's better.
But if you have enough food, but what we know about GM food is it's bad for your health. So even though if you have
that's good for you. It's made so it's good for your health. It's modified so it's good for your health. So for example, no example, but it's
now they can produce crops which are resistant to like pesticides.
And there's a new apple out. Have you heard about it?
I didn't follow it.
Yeah, it's not gonna go brown anymore.
Is it iPhone?
But because the fact that we found based on our research about GM food, understand that the GM food can cause the cancer.
Everything comes, yeah.
Cause
I think it comes back to being educated in the sense that they just it's rumors, and they think there's like preservatives or there's like additional stuff in which is not healthy and which is not natural, and then it makes it not good for your health. I think there's this whole
I was going to say it also depends on what kind of expression vector you're using. Yeah. If you're using a bacteria, then there is that risk because they use transposons, so those can integrate randomly.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's the same with like yeast expression systems. I don't think they can be as deadly. Yeah. I don't think they can actually do that.
So that doesn't mean every crop that you modify can have the same effects. I mean the same results.
Because one of the biggest crop, like Monsanto, I'm pretty sure that everyone heard of it, that leads in GMO seed and everything, and there's a research saying that it's caused cancer. Like in maybe a couple of years ago, that the French scientists have a test on a rat and found that it creates cancer, and that could have the same effect on human. And because of, because I use the example of Monsanto because it's the biggest company and it's worldwide. which means that like every crop or every seed that goes out to farmers, we don't know that where's the seed come from. Even though that you say genetic modification is a good thing, but because there's like what's it called? There's like a warning about the health issue already.
But you can't generalize that with everything that's being produced, because that's one thing that's happened, and maybe,
I want to add as well, the seeds that they use, they cannot be, the seeds are sterile, so they have their own selfish interest in that. So once they give the seed to the farmers, they cannot, the seeds that come through that plant cannot be used again because the seeds are sterile. So they have their own selfish interest behind that as well. So even that has to be regulated, because once they give the seeds, they have their own profit, and the plants that grow and give those seeds cannot be, replanted, or you cannot use those seeds because they are sterile.
Because they got the patent on it.
That's a way for them to make more money.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Get
Like
more money from it, because then they need to buy it again.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So they have their own selfish interest in that.
It's just that my concern is, even though to solve the world hunger would be a good idea, but the fact that what we know right now about GM seed, that it can cause health problems. So would it be ethical to you solve that world hunger, but people getting sick, or like their immune system goes, like the quality is less, and human like have more sickness and things like that coming up, because we see like new disease like every year. So yeah,
I think with those scientific developments and advancements, surely that risk will be reduced. But it's like with everything, we can get cancer from almost anything we interact with on a daily basis. It's not, not every grain or whatever we consume that's genetically modified is guaranteed to give us cancer, And I think in the future, all these advancements will reduce this existing likelihood, which I'm all for, kind of research and development into these alternative methods of food production, for sure. So I think the rate that we're going at the moment is unsustainable. We can't keep cutting down forests and rainforests, sacrificing our air quality, land quality for agricultural crops to feed people. It's destroying our environment. So we need to shift into alternative methods of food production, for sure.
And I want to add something, like about the crop, like example the fruit last time, the Fuji apple, that the apple that is hybrid as well. Hybrid development. It found out that recently in the news I forget the country, it was in Asian country, that this apple there is a worm inside. That cause is that because of the hybrid.
The worms good or worms bad?
Bad. The inside the apple is the worm. Yeah.
But isn't that possible?
But how can genetically modified crop can cause a worm inside an apple?
Yeah, that can be like way dislocated and stuff.
Yeah.
Would that not be related to where it's grown, and I'm not aware of that case, so I'm unable to answer.
I still think it's great.
I just have my ideas. My concern is about the environment. I agree with you guys that the idea for feeding people in the future is very good idea. But about the food system or food chain, like now you are raising the amount of crop, amount of sheep or cow, so it may be destroy the food system. So it can affect the environment. Maybe in the future the disaster will come more. So, and one idea that the environment have a different way, specific way to make the balance.
Can you give an example about that? Like
in the food
circle?
Yeah, the
like,
circle.
Yeah, 3 years ago in the US, there were an area that because they use GMO food, so just like people don't use natural food anymore. So they don't plant the natural plant anymore. So the whole area just disappear on bees because they live by collect honey from the plant.
I mean,
So
obviously
that
there needs-
area they cannot produce honeybee anymore.
Yeah,
So
obviously there needs to be a balance. You know, you
Yeah.
can't just
Regulation.
totally cut. You can't totally rely on genetically modified food to feed the whole population. Like, it's not a matter of that replacing the
the normal
natural way of growing
But it's
food
gonna be
whatsoever.
replaced
But
anyway.
there needs to be some sort of
over time.
Technology.
Yeah.
It depends on like how
I
far
was-
it goes and how quickly you can get there.
In terms of like tissue engineering and stuff, I was concentrating more on just the the medicinal purpose of it, and who doesn't want to have a tissue implant or organ implant if they're sick? In terms of stem cells as well, create fluid. Yep.
Yeah, in that sense, is
You don't
unethical
want it.
or
Rub it
ethical
out.
because you are gonna become
Or
an object or toy. Like, I need this, please, this in here, a new one. It's like a car. I need a new engine, I'm gonna change the engine. I want a new tire.
That's damage.
That is
Would you want to
ethical or
replace it?
unethical.
What if you
I
have
think
Because a human is gonna become object.
I think
Yeah,
a lot of
it's gonna be
religions will
like-
prevent
So
it's
it's
a shop, you choose
ethical
which
or
one.
unethical.
no, not like to that extent. I'm not even imagining that. I think just having one transplant, that's a big thing already. It's not like livers are just being, grown in the lab. It's not going to be like that. It's not like that. That there's like 10 livers on the. Which one suits my size? I haven't taken it to that extent, but I think, I still stand by the fact that especially in terms of stem cells and making pluripotent cells and making patient-specific cells, so there's no rejections and stuff. It's accepted and it's efficient. I think it's a great idea. I think it's great, but you have to use it wisely.
yeah.
Sure.
How is this stem cells collect?
Collect?
Is it because my sister has a baby and then like a doctor in Thailand said that do you
Yeah,
want
you
to
can
collect his stem
preserve it.
cells when he was born or something?
Yeah.
So is that
The most rich area, the cord, and what they do is the same thing happened to one of my cousins in India last week. So he was just born, little baby, and they preserve the stem cells.
Yeah.
Because stem cells can be derived into any other cell types, into all different, cell types. So in the future, if something happens to you anywhere, they can use your own stem cells to convert them into the cells that you want, and then it can be replaced with the damaged cells.
right?
So that's
Is it
what it is.
similar
So
with
for
cloning? So this is different with cloning.
Oh, it's sort of like a CNT cloning. But it's in terms of stem cells.
so
But pretty much
a stem cell of one person only can be used to that person.
for that person.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So they collect that, so like in case of future.
Yeah, because you take some from yourself, keep it, and then you use it on you again.
Yeah.
On you. You can use
I mean,
it on someone else.
Yes.
You can make
So-
someone else from
But,
But
but this stem cell cannot create
You can maybe
your mini.
mini
No, no. There's another technology. For example, some people go on about this xenotransplantation, but that is pretty much from one species to another. So transplantation from one species to another, but that doesn't really work because of the too much gaps. For example, a pig's liver trying to implant into human, that's not going to work because of the difference, the evolutionary difference. So that's why cloning in terms of SCNT is so great, because plant transplantation just doesn't work. So you need the same species for it to work efficiently. And when it's your own stem cells, as in patient specific, it's the best because then they're not going to be rejected.
I think it's because everyone wants to like shake off their hands or something because I feel a bit stressed.
I had no idea this was going to happen.
I'll just got one more question.
One more.
Just one.
Thank you.
Everything we've talked about today has been to benefit humans. It's always been.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
we've already slightly talked about how animal rights are affected and the environment's affected. So my question is to you: have you got your own viewpoints from the other side, or is it all?
Oh, we don't have any animals here, sorry.
When I try to put myself into the other shoes, as in somebody who loves animals, for example, I would want insulin for the whole world, but at the same time, I get the point. Like that means I'm just being too selfish. I understand their point, but I would still do what I'm, produce the insulin cow and to treat the world because. I just can, as he said, some people don't understand that sacrifice. I just have to, it's like making a better choice. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Would you rather kill humans or would you rather kill animals? Even though that's like, I don't know.
And the other part to that question I was going to say, so in terms of increasing the number of cows and species that we do eat on a daily basis, like, do you think it's ethical to just make so many cows to increase, to sustain an increasing population?
That's where the food cycle comes in. I don't think it's that ethical to overgrow.
You don't have to overgrow it. If you want to eat steak every day, eat steak every day.
Yeah. And there are some animal activists that would probably
and there is like animal cruelty and stuff, but I think at the end of the day, it's like how you see it.
If it's limited, if you use it up to the limit, and nothing is bad. If you overuse anything, I think it's with everything. Like if you overdo something, overuse a source, you're gonna run out of it, or it's gonna start to have its negative impact. So use everything wisely, and you should be fine.
So we have one up to
Okay, fantastic.
All right.
Maybe it's started for today.
Yeah.